hard it was to be gay in 1975.
Oh, my God.
It was a very small community.
Forget it.
But you didn't accept it. There was a time you couldn't have long hair in neighborhoods where he came from.
Of course not.
Where I came from, when I first moved from New York City, from 88th Street to North Bergen, when I was 12, 10, there was no long hair.
I had long hair, and it was hard.
It was hard.
And I had dark, and I'm Sicilian, so I had dark skin. I was called nigger a lot. I had fights because I was called nigger.
Well, I know this isn't a looks thing, but a few weeks ago, Joey was telling a story about someone was cross-country skiing in their neighborhood, and that just wasn't allowed.
And some guy was sitting there, and the time. First of all, the mindset was this: it had snowed. It's 1983. It had snowed 2 feet of snow.
Right.
In those days, it crippled the city. We couldn't gamble because there was no daily news.
Right.
The book only had action on 2 teams: Brown, and St. Lucius, and fucking Marta. And the coke guy was out of service. Because he couldn't get out of his car.
Worse.
So for 3 days, we're scratching like monkeys. And my friend's in front of a bar window waiting for heaven to come down from the skies. He's got like a mug of beer. He's got ESPN on. He's losing. And I'm sitting next to him, and he's by the bar window, and he's looking out, and there's not a car on the street. The streets are ice. Everything is parked. Some cars haven't been moved. 3 feet of snow on top.
Right.
And we're sitting there, and he's in a half a mood. And all of a sudden he looks out, and there's a fucking dude cross country in 1983.
No one was doing
that. My friend looks, and he goes, "What the fuck?
They don't do it now."
No, he goes, "What the fuck is that?"
Crazy.
And he jumped out of his chair, and he chased him, and he started beating the fuck out of him. And we all kicked him one time, right?
Exactly.
We go back in. We had a janitor in those days from the high school that we would wait till he would get drunk.
They were all drunk.
We wait till he'd get drunk.
My God.
But he was epileptic. So he would have pills on him. So we'd steal the epileptic pills, split them in half, and we got fucked up.
Anything.
Now we're fucked up to the gills. It's 3 in the morning, and I'm seeing police lights on the wall. And I go out, and the dude we beat up is in the back of the car with a blanket on, shaking. Right?
I know.
It was so tough, to be gay. Like, it was so tough.
Well, it was tough. I mean, look.
I didn't know what it was, so it didn't bother me. I just heard.
Okay, so when you guys were 10 or 11, 13, whatever the age was, what did you think of gay people?
Honest to God, I didn't think about them at all. I grew up with. My house was my mother. My aunt lived with us. My mother, the other aunt was 2 doors down, and her daughter. My 2 sisters lived with us. I grew up with all women, so I only heard. My father came home at 10 p.m., ate dinner, had 2 scotches, and went to bed. I heard female stories all day, but there was no gay. There were no gay stories. There was nothing like that to kick around. But when my cousin showed up, my father. There was a phrase my father would say when my uncle called and said, "I think Gino is brain damage." It was a very quiet night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm looking out my bedroom door, and I saw my father go to my mother. Larry thinks Gino's Fanuccia, and he grabbed his ear. He shook his ear, and I don't know what that was. A thing they did back then, and I don't know what it meant. Why you grabbed an ear when someone was gay? And what I deduced is because gays wore earrings back then. Guys, fags wore earrings.
Oh, you couldn't wear an earring in the neighborhood.
No, so I think that's why they did the ear. I think that's why I did the ear. And I tell you, when my uncle came with his son, and we went on the boat, we went fishing. The ladies were so concerned, like, "How's everything? What happened? Is everything good?" And my father was like, it hurt him. It hurt him that his brother's son was gay, and he said. My mother said, "Well, look, it's not the worst thing in the world." My father, I remember he said, "It's fucking close. It's close." He got mad. Like, I'm a man. That's not something a father wants to go through. So this is many, many years ago. Now, if my son was gay, I would buy him the best makeup. I would make sure he had the best fucking clothes. It wouldn't bother me. It really wouldn't bother me. I swear to God, my son's an athlete. He's a great athlete. I wouldn't bust his balls. I wouldn't go to bed at night and wring my hands. As I got older in life, I just want my kids to be happy. Now, being happy and being gay nowadays is easily achievable. But in the 70s, it was fucking impossible. You're going to get fucking killed.
When I moved to Jersey, the toughest family in the neighborhood had a kid that was effeminate. And at that time, I knew. But let me tell you a funny story.
We called him,
You've been to Cuba a couple times.
Oh, 3 times. I love it.
Cuba has a very huge gay society.
Sure.
Very big prostitution society.
I know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Cuba's a haven of debt. But the also society they have is, and I've talked about it before, it's an Amaqua society.
Amaqua?
It's Santeria.
I went. I loved all.
I could see the bracelets.
Mingy was crazy.
There's a thing that Amaqua, and they were the longshoremen of Cuba.
Really?
And they were the men of Cuba. They were the Sicilians of Cuba. They were so Sicilian, they couldn't eat pussy.
Oh, you're right about that.
They couldn't be in another room. They couldn't be in a room. If Lee was gay, I have to walk out of the room.
Right.
Nothing against Lee. They're not going to say nothing
it's
against
positive.
Lee.
No, but they don't want to be around that.
No, they don't want to
be around it.
Because of my Santeria roots, there's a lot of gay guys in the Santeria room. And there was one in particular, and that was about 8. And he was partners with my mother in some venture. Who the fuck knows? Good guy. Good guy. I still remember him. But whenever he would see me, he would scare me.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't say sexual things to me because my mom was in the room. He would always say to walk away. And in some Spanish circles, that means I'm going to fuck you. Well, one day Juan was there.
Shit.
Juan was Abaqua. Juan didn't play that shit at all. If it came time to hug him, he would put his hand out and shake their hand.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing how Juan acted, but he never lashed out at him. In fact, he always spoke to him at my mother's bar. He was friends with Martin. When he heard that guy say that to me, he pulled me aside one day. And he goes, don't ever let that motherfucker say that to you again. That motherfucker says that to you again.
Right.
You either knock him out or you kick him in the fucking balls. Tell him you're going to shoot him. I mean, it was scary. Well, and then the situation came up that he said it. And I went off on him in front of my mother. My mother got pissed. But it was such a touchy situation in those days. And I see it now. Today I have a gay friend. I don't care.
I don't care at all about it.
That does not bother me.
But I'll tell you, my brother-in-law is 71 years old. He's been with me since I'm 5 years old. So he's like my father. And Spanish, Puerto Rican. Tough Queens guy, And when his little son, Jackie, was growing up, we were watching the Cabaret, and my sister she put a little rouge on his cheeks. She put him in a little black dress. It was funny. We were laughing around the house. My father dressed as Joel Grey from Cabaret, and she made her son to look like kind of like Liza Minnelli. He was 3. Well, my brother-in-law saw it. You would have thought he saw him sucking cock. That's how fucking mad he got. Spanish, Italian, the Latin people, he get that fucking dress off my son. I mean, his face got red.
I'll tell you who was the worst. And if I ever get to meet him, I'm going to pull him aside and ask him why he put that in his pilot.
Oh.
And then it was brilliant. The pilot to Empire.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, the pilot to Empire, there's a scene in the beginning where the kid comes down with a dress and shoes on.
I remember.
In the fucking pilot.
He went ballistic.
And he picks him up and puts him in
a garbage can.
And he puts the lid over it.
It's a genius scene.
Let me tell you something, guys. My first friend when I came from Cuba, my mom had a bar on 127th and West End there, whatever that street is, right off the
west. Oh, yeah.
Right up on the Upper West Side. It was a black bar.
Right.
But it was numbers. My mother's partnership was numbers with the dude. But I would go in there, and I became friends, and I became friends with a little black kid. The kid was my Goomba. We ran around, and went all the way, bought James Brown records.
Right, I love it.
He took me to the projects, and I ate with his family. And
great.
There were sometimes my mom let me sleep over on Saturdays, and they picked me up on Sundays. And I still remember 1968 like it was yesterday. The father in that house going off about the brother-in-law was gay. Well, when I'm in this fucking motherfucking chat, I don't want no motherfucking gay nigga in my motherfucking house.
I know.
He would say shit, and I was 5, and I was scared of him.
Yeah.
And I would go home and ask my mom. My mom didn't really know the whole Cuban, she didn't know the American translation.
Yeah.
She said, go to bed. But it was all about their brother-in-law being gay, like the wife's brother. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we were there on a Saturday night,
right?
And he embarrassed the guy in front of us. And then he told the wife one time when I was there eating, I don't want him in here when I'm eating because he's going to ruin my motherfucking appetite.
No.
Shit like that. And I still remember being 5 and going, wow.
Yeah.
His hatred for that man. And finally, years later, I figured out why. The guy was fucking gay. Yeah. That was the biggest hate I ever saw in my life for a gay.
Yeah.
Was the black. That's why years ago when they said, they're going to put gay players in the NBA.
Oh, forget about it. No way.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Gay players in the NFL, good luck.
Well, they're in there. They're in there,
but they're in the closet big because they know
that
they're the first. Listen, that